Good morning again, committee, and we have our next guest with us, Nina Hanson from the Abbey Group. And we're going to talk about the local foods initiative. And of course, you folks from the Abbey Group feed us when we're at the State House. And I usually eat there every noon hour, except for the last 2 years. I've had to put up with my wife's cooking, so but that's been good too. So anyways, we want to welcome you to the committee and thank you, for all the good work that you folks do to keep hungry people fed. So I'll just turn it over to you and go from there.
Thank you very much, Senator. It's my pleasure to be here this morning. Welcome from and hello from Sheldon, Vermont at our headquarters. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do every day, pre-COVID, middle of COVID, and where we hope to be going after COVID as well. So I'm going to share my screen here, prepared a few notes.
Yeah, we're all set.
Great. All right. Well, a little bit about us, and for those of you who don't know, we are the little engine that could from Sheldon, Vermont. We've been in business for over 35 years. Some of you may remember the Grateful Dead concert in Highgate, and we actually were one of the vendors there for food. So we're not intimidated to take on anything, even when we're not exactly sure what we're getting into. Okay. Right now, we primarily manage food service programs in K-12 schools in Vermont, New Hampshire, New York, and we even have one account in Massachusetts. Our business has grown and continues to grow, and we're very, very excited about that. We're passionate about local food. It makes complete sense to us that the best way to feed our kids in schools is to offer them as much local as possible. So on our monthly menus, we feature a harvest of the month that reflects the Vermont Harvest of the Month calendar, and we offer that on the menu. We also do taste tests of, well, this month it's beets, and so kids are getting either pickled beets or roasted beets. We pre-COVID would have farmers come in to talk in the cafeteria to the students. We've been lucky enough to have the Schwanyers come in and talk about raising dairy and raising beef, and that the kids just love being able to interact with our farmers. Angus West from West Farm has also really had a great time helping to serve taste tests to the kids. And, we're very, very interested in increasing our purchases of local and offering it on all our menus. And I'll talk about that more in a bit. So as I mentioned, this is the Vermont Harvest of the Month calendar that we follow, and it's been a great way to partner and make local connections for all of our schools. We have
excuse me, Nina, your slides aren't advancing. So I'm not sure if
okay,
what's going on, but
let me see. Thanks for letting me know.
There's your calendar's up now.
My the calendar. Okay, so maybe I'm talking too fast. Is that? Can you see that?
There. Now the different months and the the veggie of the month list is up.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So through the Harvest of the Month, we are able to connect with our local farmers directly, but we also purchase globally through our broadline supplier, Performance Food Group, and they will enter into contracts with different Vermont and New England suppliers for us. So we've had fun with the Junior Iron Chef competition and featuring, again, different menus that the kids have come up with. And that's been very well received, mostly pre-COVID, but we hope to be getting back to it in the coming year. We're really excited about the local purchasing incentive, and we are partnering with our school clients to purchase more local through this program. The goal is at minimum to have 15% of our total purchases be allocated to Vermont. And we have made great inroads with various products. There is some challenges with what is what is going to be classified as a Vermont product. We're struggling with Cabot right now, but our goal is to be working with suppliers that are producing in Vermont with Vermont products. We also think it's a good time to talk about the Universal Meal Initiative in Vermont, and we think having universal meals will greatly enhance our opportunities for funding more local. So we hope we can count on a lot of support for universal meals coming up.
Well, I don't know if we can talk in between here, but we spent a tremendous amount of time last session setting up a universal meals program, and the education committee cut it back to a universal breakfast program. But I'm in hopes that we can get back to a universal meals program for all our children. It works so well. It is working now because the feds, I guess, are paying the bill, but when they leave, we should, capture on that and keep that program going. And the issue with Cabot, is there an issue that on supply or issue that we can help with? I must be on cheese, man, so you can get credit for Vermont cheese. Is that the issue?
Right now, it's indetermined if they will qualify for the incentive with their classification. We buy a lot of yogurt actually from Cabot, a lot of yogurt.
Oh,
and so we are working, with the Department of Ag on the classifications of different organizations in Vermont to see who's in and who's out, to count towards the incentive. But Cabot would be at the top of the list.
And where does that yogurt come from? Do you know?
I am not. I had always assumed it was produced in Vermont. We do buy it we don't buy it directly from Cabot. We buy from our broadline supplier. So that I guess there's maybe some that is and some that isn't.
Well, they only have 3 plants, so two in Vermont, and then the one over, Middlebury and Cabot, and one over in New York, the macadam cheese. But we'll chase that issue down.
That would be great. That would be
Yep.
great.
Mr. Chair, I thought we heard that they also make butter down in Massachusetts somewhere. but I could be wrong. Nina, is the Agency of Ag helpful as you try to wrestle? We paired the local food incentive to their definition of local. Have they been helpful? Have you reached out to them to get clarity or get assistance trying to determine what's what?
Oh, I'm a very squeaky wheel. I'm actually sitting on the advisory panel with the Department of Ag. So, and we are unique. We are unique in the state, and we have managed contracts that don't necessarily fit with the with the program, but we're working through that, and everybody has been so understanding and willing to look for answers for us. And of course, as you know, some of the school districts that are right on the border with different states are struggling as well. So we're working through that, and it's great that it's a pilot year to work out the bugs. So yeah, but yeah, very, very enthusiastic about the program. I think it's wonderful that Vermont's doing that.
Thanks.
Okay, so as we entered into COVID time, we were approached actually by the state of Vermont to apply to become a supplier to the Farmers to Families food box program. And this was a whole new world for us, but we were able to leverage all our connections to different organizations, nonprofits around Vermont, like Healthy Roots and Green Mountain Farm to School, the Center for Agricultural Economy. I know I'm missing some, but there were just so many people that came together to help us help Vermont participate in the Farmers to Families program. So initially we won the USDA bid on providing food boxes for Vermont, and we were able to buy directly from all Vermont suppliers, and that was wonderful. So that was a real boon to our local economy and to our local producers. So we served over 95,000 boxes to families in need on the front line. And go ahead. Is there a question?
That's a lot of meals.
It was a lot. So the boxes themselves for this program were whole foods, like gallons of milk, bricks of cheese, whole apples. So it was quite a mix of products, 30 pounds in one box. But primarily it was all Vermont product, and it was tremendous. Unfortunately, the federal program changed, and we were not able to apply the local criteria exclusively to produce these boxes. The boxes were awarded to the lowest price bidder, and unfortunately, we never won a bid after that. We were able to distribute boxes from out of state, but we were not able to produce the boxes here in Vermont. So that was discouraging on the one hand, but on the other hand, we learned a lot about what it takes to pack boxes, what it takes to logistically to distribute them, to have a consistent and reliable supply chain. So based on our experience from Farmers to Families, we have created a new company called Blue Sky Packing. And Blue Sky Packing is coming into existence to enable us to consolidate some of our, possibly some of our school production. And one of the items we are thinking of producing is boxes of fresh produce for our salad bars that we could purchase locally from our local farmers. Also having a food hub for nonprofit organizations and farmers to be able to drop their product in a central location and use the facility as a cross dock where somebody then could come and pick it up. So we're working with Healthy Roots on that initiative here in Franklin County. And the Blue Sky Packing facility is under construction. We are building a 20,000 square foot warehouse with refrigeration and freezer space, washing. Oh, let me just show you some. There we are. We're under construction right now. We hope to be able to bid competitively on more USDA contracts, so we could bring that business to Vermont. We intend to, as I said, produce food for our lunch, for our school accounts in Vermont mainly. And the sky is the limit for different opportunities that we can take on.
That the background of where your building is looks like it's right there in Sheldon. Is that, am I accurate on that?
You're very accurate. It's right down the street from our headquarters on 105. So the location is excellent. Easy to get to 89, and we think quite central for farmers in the north and northeast to be able to drop off product there and pick up as need be. So yeah, and we have our own, we have purchased some delivery vehicles as well, and just building from the ground up.
That's exciting. Tell us a little bit about the food hub you plan to do there. Is it going to be quick freeze, or how that's going to operate? Because over in Hardwick, there's a distribution type place, and they also deliver. And I think having the delivery vehicles is pretty important.
Right. So we are slightly different from Hardwick in that the food hub is mainly for raw, unprocessed product, or again, we're working with Healthy Roots in what they see the community needing to assist nonprofit charitable food organizations. So as far as manufacturing or processing product for them, that is not in the early stages of this program. We are mainly, hoping to assist them with storage needs that they're really struggling with. And if they do need some transportation assistance, we may be able to offer that as well. So we have listened to what they think the community needs and what would assist our nonprofit food suppliers. And that's our starting point with that food hub.
Any questions from committee members? Jump in.
Yeah, I have one, Bobby.
Yeah.
So, there we go. So Ms. Hanson, and it might have been on the first couple slides, which we didn't see for too long. I'm just curious, you mentioned schools. How many schools in Vermont do you provide food for? I'm just trying to get an idea of how many we're talking about.
Well, I should have been prepared for that because we have over 100 in 4 states, and I'm going to have to get back to you with exactly how many we have in Vermont. I would put the figure at probably close to 50.
Okay.
And of course, we do summer camps and including the conservation camps for the state of Vermont, also business accounts like Blue Cross Blue Shield and Global Foundries. So multiple accounts.
Is it mostly in the northern part of the state? And who do you compete with for that?
No, we have accounts down south, Slate Valley,
Okay,
southern,
all right. That's
southern Vermont, in Bennington, Rutland Northeast. So yeah, no, we're all over the place. Springfield,
Okay.
Northeast Kingdom. Who do we compete against? Companies, food service management companies that are based outside of Vermont. You know, Sodexo is probably the most well-known. Cafe services. Yeah. Pretty fierce out there.
all right. Thank you.
Do
Okay.
you do any of the state colleges or any of the colleges?
We don't do any of the state colleges, but we would love to.
Yeah,
We'd
I
love to
should
have
think,
those state colleges.
I should think we would want Vermont food feeding Vermont kids, and you know, that's a most busy system for Vermont kids is
Mhm.
right at the state colleges. Chris, did you have a question?
Yeah, you mentioned working in several states. Is New York one of them?
Yes.
Could you talk about your experience with their local food incentive in schools? Because it's something we've modeled ours on, and as we understand it, is very successful. And so I'd love to hear any reaction you have from working in that system, assuming you're taking advantage of theirs.
I wish I could say we were, and this is also something we hadn't planned on for the Vermont initiative, is that when we enter into a contract with a client, it's based on a price, and it's a fixed price that can only be changed through amendment. So if we hadn't planned on purchasing 25% local in our initial price, we have to go back to the client and say, if you want to take advantage of this program, we're going to have to renegotiate the contract. And that's very complicated to do that in New York. So we have not been able to. Vermont is being much more flexible and understanding about that, and know that we may have to go back to our clients and say, we're super excited about this. We already include a good amount of local every day, but to hit that 25%, we're going to need a bit more money to spend. And they are spending out of federal dollars. I don't know if everybody understands how the system works, but we are paid through the federal reimbursements that they receive for each meal. So that's how that all works. So unfortunately, New York has not worked out for us yet, but
Good.
there's
Well,
always a new. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm hopeful that you can do that. It's good for the whole world when the more localized food, the better. But thank you. This has been really interesting. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we thought we were gonna have to beef up our Vermont program with a little extra money, but we found that, or the agency of ed found that they'd made a little calculation error and it came out, so they're gonna have a little bit of money left over, so we haven't got to appropriate any more until our 23 budget talks start probably in a week and a half. So
Right. And I think, if the federal government continues to fund universal meals, I mean, that is, of course, the answer to everything.
Yeah.
Great for the kids, great for our state.
Yeah, it's everybody wins with it as far as I know.
Absolutely. I think it's a great way to get, have more purchasing power that we can spend locally at 100%.
Yeah. So did you have other material that you wanted to present, Nina?
No, that's it. From us, just we're, again, the Blue Sky Packing, we're looking for opportunities. We would looking for funding for different initiatives as well that we're not quite ready to talk about yet. And maybe you've heard through the grapevine, but I'll be reporting back to you on that.
Well, yeah, because there's certainly, we have money to help, startup businesses, new businesses, help old businesses keep going. And working lands can do some grants, but, maybe 50, 100,000 at the best. But I know we'll be talking about their appropriations, coming up in a couple of weeks, maybe. And once we get by the supplemental budget. But no, if we can assist you in any of that, ACCD, I'm sure you're familiar with those people or that. But Joan Goldstein, she's the commissioner and, very good to work with, helpful. And so, and if we can help in any way, let us know. Corey actually shows up every day. And
I was gonna say we're very proud of all the work they're doing here in Franklin County. And if you guys need to get out for dinner, make sure to check out the restaurant in Sheldon.
Yeah.
I've eaten there a few times.
Yeah, I'm a product of the Abbey Group. They did my elementary school. I think we were one of the first ones you guys went into, St. Albans City School, in the 90s when I was there. And I grew up with Abbey food through high school and now in the legislature.
Yeah.
No, we appreciate all that you folks do over there and the food that you put out. We've certainly never heard of any complaints, let's put it that way. And legislators would come to us probably or senators would, at least if there was a problem. But other questions from committee members? No, all set.
All right.
Well, thanks a lot for your time this morning. We know you're busy and got a lot to do, but we wanted to hear about your what you do offer Vermont kids, and Corey told us about a little bit about your new venture, and we wanted to hear about that. And so if there's any way we can help, just let us know.
Well, thank you. I hope to be reporting back good things in very shortly as far as funding goes for even a bigger initiative. So that Corey knows about.
Yeah. Well, he brought it to our attention, and no, he keeps right on top of stuff.
Great.
So thanks again. If you ever need anything, holler.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So committee, we have rural Vermont fairs, and I guess it's just fair, Farm Bureau and the fairs coming in, and Jackie is here with us already. So we'll switch right into that, and so Jackie doesn't lose much time here. We got 45 minutes and better make the most of it. So good morning, Jackie, and welcome. I think you know all of us, so we don't need to introduce ourselves at all. So are you going to start off with an update from Farm Bureau, or
I can do that.
or you want to do the fair? Any way you want to do it's fine with us.
Well, let me start with the Farm Bureau because I got little notes here. And first of all, I'd like to say I envy Senator Parent, who had all that wonderful food all the way through his life, it sounds like, because I'm of the age where, you know, I had the little ladies with the blue hair and the hairnets, and gosh, you didn't know what you were eating, but you know, you just ate it.
You ate what was thrown in front of you, right?
Pretty much.
It's so bad that I remember my lunch number to get in. It was 585. Like that was the type we did to get our lunch. And then one of my constituents who worked there forever remembers my number, and she'll still look at me and go 585.
Well, it's nice to be remembered that way, I guess, as opposed to, you know, having it under your chin for a police report and that's your number. So I guess it's better to have the lunch number. Oh, well, thank you, gentlemen. That was a great report. I'm really excited about what's going on there with the Abbey group. My gosh, I got to listen to like the last 10 minutes of Nina's report, and what a wonderful thing for local foods and Sheldon and that Abbey group. That's just really exciting. I look forward to hearing what they're up to next. I've also, the Franklin County Farm Bureau used to have their annual meetings there at the Abbey. So I've eaten up there quite a bit, and it's I miss going up there, quite honestly. So I'm just going to give you some updates on what Farm Bureau has been paying attention to as things went through the State House. First of all, I'd really like to thank the committee for getting the DMC premium payments into the supplemental budget. That is something that, as a member of the Dairy Task Force, that we supported, among other things. And so hopefully some of the other issues will also be talked about, but I know that we are going to try to be extended till next year so that we can work on some other things, and we'll be back to you with some more ideas, I'm sure.
Yeah, I haven't even announced to the committee that basically the Appropriations Committee agreed to put that in the budget. So I think I told Brian earlier this morning at our first meeting, but that went, we haven't voted, but the consensus was that that would be approved for the DMC premiums. And so now once we get that, if we do get a good vote on that and get that past the House, we're going to need organizations like Farm Bureau to make sure and get that into their newsletters so farmers will sign up and take advantage of that in case the bottom drops out.
We already, my last
ahead.
week's Under the Golden Dome, which is our weekly legislative report, had information in there on how to sign up and where to go for your FSA office and get that done. So we have been promoting that for the last 2 weeks, ever since we heard of the possibility. So we're way ahead of you, Senator, but thank you for letting us know that money got in, and I wouldn't expect anything less of you and greasing the skids in appropriations. I know it's great that you're in there on behalf of agriculture, so thank you.
The whole committee, we all worked at that.
You did. I know, and originally it was to cover the other two programs, and I do understand the challenge with that and the costs and some of the administration. So hopefully we'll be looking at that and trying to figure out a way to make that work. But I'm sure all the dairy farms in Vermont will appreciate the money when it comes through. So appreciate the Agency of Agriculture also working to make it as seamless as possible to apply for it and get that check when the money is available.
Yep.
One of the bills I've been involved in Senate Judiciary, and this is one that Senator Starr has sponsored, is S-166. It's the broadband bill, and it has to do with the issue down at the Hoyts Farm in Tunbridge that I'm sure you're all aware of. It is not going to be retroactive, so it will not affect the Hoyts or any of the challenges they continue to have on their farm. And sadly, I want to report that they did lose another animal this week. But this is to, originally the bill was written so that we were going to go through rulemaking on one of the rules within the Public Utilities Commission that's specific to utilities. But after the discussion, they've changed it so it will be on the rule specific to broadband. And Senator Steers and the committee were very supportive when they heard the testimony. They also heard testimony from FX Flynn, who is the director of the CUD down there in Tunbridge, who was involved in this whole situation. And he had a couple of suggestions which were not supported within the committee to make some changes. And so I think they're going to be voting that out on Friday. And they have decided not to go through rulemaking, but to make the enforcement of this law within the Consumer Protection Act in statute. So it will be effective immediately, as opposed to having to go through 6 to 7 months of rulemaking. That was actually on the support of Kyle, I can't think of his last, he's a hyphenated last name, but he works for the PUC, and he supported changing it from rulemaking to making it a law, as did Jim Porter from the Department of Public Service. So we had really good support. We're trying to make sure that anybody that touches a pole that's attaching broadband fiber or any other fiber, but this was specific to broadband, would have to ensure that those contracts that they sign are enforced, which are performance standards, pack it in, pack it out, so that they wouldn't be leaving things on the ground that animals can get into or equipment can get into, as well as making sure that the CUDs going forward make sure and enforce the fact that the subcontractors all the way down have valid insurance certificates that cover the length of the work. Because in the case of the Hoyts, the subcontractor from New York had insurance that expired. It expired for non-payment, and they were still 2 days after that. They were still doing work on the property. So Farm Bureau supported this. We thank you, Senator Starr, for being one of the sponsors. We feel it's a private property issue that they shouldn't. No one should be allowed to leave things like that anywhere on property. Hopefully this will be passed on Friday. It will probably go to finance because Senator Hardy and Senator McDonald were the other sponsors, and they have things to do in broadband. So I think Senator Pearson, you'll be hearing about that next week sometime. And I don't know whether it'll come to you folks or not, but if it does, certainly we'll be glad to come in, and the Hoyts will be glad to come in and talk to you about their challenges. They've been very gracious in the fact that they recognize this bill will not affect them whatsoever. But their comment to the committee and to others is, we don't want this happening to anyone else. And given that they're also a Horizon farm, so they've got multiple issues that they're dealing with. They've kept in touch with me, and they're just, as I said, they're being very gracious about making sure that this doesn't happen again. So we actually found some wire on our farm. Yes, sir.
Did they have insurance for this, or are they just taking it on the chin?
Well, ag insurance will not cover deaths of animals with wire. It's pretty specific. It will cover drowning or suffocating in snow, or, I mean, it's, my husband sells nationwide ag insurance, so we've been following this, and they filed, but their insurance does not cover things like that. So they are suing. The insurance companies were going back and forth, and they have now filed a lawsuit against, I believe it's Eustis Cable. I'm not sure who, but I think that's who was involved. So there's a lawsuit ongoing. It's just a sad situation. There isn't, they've had to buy feed, and sadly, so this happened last year, 2 years ago, when they discovered it in their feed, and when they chopped this year, they discovered it in this year's feed in the 2021 crop. So they're having some problems.
No, that's not right though, and the utility was negative, I think, in not making sure that parent company that was doing the work had the proper insurance, because, but the only ones winning this deal is the lawyers that are going to be doing the lawsuits. But anyways, if
And Senator Pearson, did I miss you as a sponsor on this bill? I apologize.
It's no problem, but I'm glad to do it. I mean, we need to, it's outrageous and these folks need to be held accountable. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's crushing what happened down Windsor and Orange County. But
What we usually do, Jackie, on a bill that that another committee has dealt with that could come to us, if when they pass that Friday and everything looks good in it, there's no need of, especially when it's got to go to the other body, there's no need of holding it up with another committee review and lose a week. It's more important to move that through the process and get it to the other body. So if you're keeping track of that, you know, if you see anything in there that we ought to look at or talk to the committee chair in regards to, or the committee, let us know. But hopefully it's in good enough shape so we can move it to the other body and give them ample time to act on it.
Thank you. I'll keep in touch. Hopefully it'll move out of judiciary. The full committee was very supportive. And I've also, just as an aside, I did talk with Christine Hallquist, who's the executive director of the Vermont Broadband Council, to just give her an update on this. And we talked at length about the issue of the educational component into all the CUDs that are forming, to make sure that they understand that they are the final eyeballs on the contracts as they go out, because they subcontract and subcontract and subcontract. And it is in the contracts, the performance standards, and that they're supposed to have good insurance. But, you know, we just want to make sure that all the CUDs understand that this is their responsibility. So she was very kind about listening, and also agreed with the concept of what we were trying to do. So that was a good conversation. We've also been watching the farm labor housing, again, thanks to this committee for promoting the money that got put into VHCB last year. I have not been able to follow Gus Seelig as he's been going from committee to committee, but from what I understand, they put out an RFP that was picked up by two groups, UVM and a housing trust up in Burlington, and they were going to start putting the pieces together to figure out how the farmers could apply for this money. We're going to be watching that, because we want to make sure that money gets out and gets used by the farmers, and that the application process isn't onerous. I still have a challenge with the fact that Gus insists on making it loans instead of grants, and I know it's it's
supposed to be grants.
Well, it's a 10-year loan that if they use it at the end, it's forgiven.
we do that. I'm sorry to jump in, but I remember just getting so twisted up about this in other housing. There is some universe where they just hold on to the debt. You know, it's just forever, perennially on the books, but it's sort of an odd thing to get around a federal regulation, I think. And I can't recall exactly what it is, but it's a loan that may never be repaid, and everybody's okay with that. But I would guess that it makes it tricky for accounting on the farm.
Well, that was my concern, is that, you know, if you're already fully leveraged and you want to do this to make it right, what is Farm Credit or Vita going to say if, you know, all of a sudden you've now got another loan on the books? I'm not that well versed in how that works, and I did ask us to look into it. But you're right, Senator, it's a bookkeeping thing that they have to do, and it makes it work for VHCB. But I was just concerned, and I raised my concerns, and Gus said, no, it's all going to work out. So
I only interject just to say that this is not unique to this program. I remember learning about this, and just it made me take a nap because it was so confusing. But this is elsewhere in our convoluted system. This also exists.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. I know I had an off-record discussion with Gus, and he told me the same thing. And as hard as I said, farmers don't need other loans, he assured me it was going to be all right. So, I'm just putting it on your radar in case it turns out differently. But I just want the money to get out and make it worthwhile for them.
Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, but Jackie, it's going to be important because trusted voices like yours will be vital to help, assure farmers what this strange program really does, and that it doesn't come with a balloon payment or whatever. So let me know, or I'm sure others would be glad to help if make sure you have that information, because I'm quite sure the chair and others will count on you to help spread the word once this program is up and running. And it's important that you have confidence and can describe it in a way that is accurate and feels right.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sarah. I'll make sure everybody knows that.
I think Gus has testified about making available like $10 million, or it's a lot of money. So it should help upgrade and even build, new if they have to. So, no, that was good. Buster Caswell. I mean, he was a real pusher on that.
I still get almost weekly emails from Mr. Caswell about what I'm not doing enough of to make this happen. So, I'm just, yes, we're all beneficiaries of his commentaries.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
goodness.
That's how you get stuff done. The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Well, the other day I was in a private conversation with somebody and they thanked me for being a major headache on a piece of legislation. And I said, well, okay, I guess that's better than being a pain somewhere else, so I'll go with the headache, it was pretty funny. It was complimentary, I think, but I don't know. I had a meeting with Heather Scholdice and Amanda and a group of people from the Vermont Dairy Producers Association on S-268, which is the Right to Farm bill. And I think Senator Parent and Senator Starr are sponsors of that. And I thought it was supposed to go to judiciary, but I didn't see it in the room. Oh, it did go? Okay, so
but we're trying to get it, in our room to work on it if it needs work, and then send it back. If it is a judicial issue there, send it back to the other committee. But we keep fooling around and not getting to work on it. It'll never get to the other body in time to get it done. So
yeah, I would agree with that that comment, Senator. And the judiciary is dealing with a lot of huge issues, and I'm not sure this is going to be high on their radar. So if there's a way that you can pull it in, that would be helpful, because Vermont Farm Bureau just saw the bill, I think maybe last week. We have some questions about it, which we talked about yesterday with Heather and Amanda and Bill Rowell, and Margaret Lagus was involved in it due to her connection with Ackermark Cabot. And so we'd love to have you folks pull it in and get the discussion rolling, because I'm not sure that it's going to rise to the level of we got to get this done in judiciary. No fault to them, but they've got a lot of other issues to deal with besides this. And the timing of it is a little challenging because of the lawsuits that's going on over with the Voice Develop Farm in Addison County. And, you just know whoever wins, the other one's going to appeal. So, it's going to be a delicate dance when we start talking about this to try to remain out of the purview of litigation that's ongoing. So, we'll be watching that. We've offered some suggestions to Heather, and once we get it, and I think we're going to have ongoing discussions, pull in some more people and talk about it, see if we can have more questions answered and get more support for it and go forward from there.
Yep.
The last bill I'd like to talk about is S-258. And that is the RAP piece about climate resiliency. And I'd just like to say, we don't have a problem with this language, but we have a concern because there is a draft that I received from Laura DiPietro on rulemaking for wraps last year. And I'm a little concerned that now if we have another one, whether farmers are going to get confused, whether there's going to be enough time to deal with it. So the wraps that Laura sent out last year, in October, the email that accompanied it said that it was going to ICAR or LCAR. I never remember the process. I think it was going to ICAR. Then they were going to send it to public comment, and then it was going to go through the process. But it's hung up because the wetlands ruling from between ANR and Agency of Ag is still hung up in public comment period. So I just want to caution that we've actually got a CAFO public comment piece going on through DEC. We've got a wetlands public comment piece going on with Laura LaPierre between Ag and DEC. And there's also a RAPS there's a draft out. It doesn't address climate as far as I can see. But I just worry that if there's so many of these things that are being held up or then adding another one to it, that it might be a challenge for anybody to try to figure out where we need to go and what we need to do. So it's not that I'm not supportive of this, because I think it's a good conversation. I'm just worried there's too much going on.
Chris?
Jackie, thank you, because I've been trying to understand. You've illustrated kind of some of the process that I've been murky about. It's been murky to me, and I guess I would just say, because I've understood that there's some discussion around changes in the rules, that's where I think it's appropriate to at least bring up these questions. But it's not my goal to necessarily be additive, but just sort of say, hey, while you're doing this, and I do understand it was submitted to ICAR and then got delayed in some way. So that was part of my thinking anyway, was, hey, while this is happening and we're watching this news out of Addison County, I want to make sure that any proposed changes sort of deals with the data that's been more clear around rain events. But so anyway, I just to say, I appreciate you're the first witness that's helped me actually understand several of the moving parts that are involved in the issue.
Well, and I don't know, because I don't know the way rulemaking works, because they've already developed a draft, if they would be able to go back and it's gone to ICAR, if they'd be able to go back and add this. I mean, I just don't know once we get past those moving parts, I'm out of it. So
and I'm unclear too, but clearly if it's a draft rule, there's the opportunity to update the draft. But I also, this is again back to the haziness. I had understood that it didn't really get submitted, that it met, the interagency challenge and got paused in some way. I could be wrong about that, but again, just where I was coming from and trying to want a fuller understanding of the situation.
Yeah, I don't know either. I just know that the wetlands, the movement of the wetlands draft was halted, and I think there's a wetlands component in the draft of the RAPs that's floating around there, and so we're all kind of waiting. And then the legislature came back in, and I think it's not a. I am not going to speak for the agencies. I don't know where it is. We haven't seen any notification that they're still waiting or that they need more information. Farm Bureau responded to both the wetlands and the CAFO piece, and we were waiting to make comments to the RAPs because we didn't know where it was in the process. So, and having said that, there's a big connection out. There's a lot of discussion out there, and I missed the climate piece this morning, but I know Abby Course has been really good about saying that a lot of the things that farmers are doing for water quality connects directly to climate change. And we at Farm Bureau believes that 100%. And you know, it's time that people understood that the farmers have been doing these things all along. Now we've just got to get our voices out there and make sure that people understand that. So, you know, anytime you start talking about this, it's a good thing. But as I said, I'm just a little worried that we're doing one more piece. So we'll just be monitoring it. And, you know, if you'd like me to come in and talk about it, I guess I would try, but I probably would say the same thing. There's just one too many of these things floating out that are not getting any resolution. So
We're going to be
frustrating
back.
for farmers.
We're going to be back on to that climate report Friday. So if you want to punch in, you know, you're welcome.
Thank you. So that's all I have about Farm Bureau and the bills that we're watching. Of course, we're watching the Act 250 stuff that's going on, and the Forever Wild, and there's a bunch of bills that just got introduced over in House Ag. Don't know where those are going to go. But let me talk about the fairs a little bit, if you don't have any other questions for me on legislative things for the Farm Bureau. So
Yeah.
we just got done, and many thanks to all of you and to the governor, who increased our capital funds to $300,000 in this year and next year. And that gave the fairs a little bit extra money. We had 10 fairs apply for the capital grants this year. And we've asked the fairs to do a 3 to 5 year capital improvement plan, so that you all, when we come in and talk to you, you can see what they have built upon. And it's really been working for a lot of them. We are going to be coming in on February 16th. We were going to do it in person, but I'm thinking that we're not going to do it in person. We'll probably have the folks Zoom in and give you updates. But most of them are doing electrical improvements, water improvements. A lot of them are building barns for infrastructure as their programs grow. As you know, the farm show is canceled. You all would be going there next week, and it's very, very sad. Second year in a row. The Maple Festival, I believe, is having events, but they're not the full-blown events that they've had in the past. There was a challenge with getting the school for their antique and craft show. And so up there, they're doing, I think, photo contests and a couple different things. So at least they're trying to get something done. But it's going to be a real struggle. But the fairs last year will tell you that they had incredible attendance. Just people really wanted to get back out. What they were having problems with was vendors, because a lot of the vendors didn't have labor so that they could go to the fairs, or in the case of big equipment, they didn't have anything to show because there's just no equipment out there to be had. And so that was an issue. But they came back and they did well, and they were very excited, and they were very, very grateful to everyone who voted that extra $1 million for them, and to get through last year. And they will be talking to you about how they spent that. I do have 3 fairs on the western side of the state: Champlain Valley, Addison, and Rutland, who are involved in this 3-acre rule. They have impervious surfaces that they got caught up in when they mapped. For example, Champlain Valley has got 37.7 acres of impervious surfaces. These folks are all, along with everybody else who was on that 42-page listing, they are now required to pay a fee every year on top of hiring an engineer to develop a water program to deal with the runoff of impervious surfaces. Champlain Valley's fee is $5,200. Addison County is about $3,200, and I think Rutland just got a bill for $2,800. You know, I'm going into institutions on Friday, and I have spoken with them before about trying to get us out of this program, because there's just no way they can recoup this. And Champlain Valley has got a bill, an estimate of, it's over $1 million, might be closer to $2 million, to come up with a facility or a way to treat the water that's coming off of these impervious surfaces. Now, this is a fair, you know, it's the biggest fair that we have in the state, own the most property, But because they depend also a lot on extra events, which were all canceled last year. And this year they've already lost the Yankee Sportsman's Classic, as well as the farm show, as well as the quilt show. You know, there's just no way for these guys to come up with this funding. So
How many acres are involved? You said they're over just a little or a lot? How many
no,
acres?
Champlain Valley has got 37.7
Oh.
acres they've identified as impervious. Yeah, it's a lot.
And what about the other?
You know, I don't remember. I'll have Diane and Robert mention that when they come in, but I think Diane's got like 20, and I'm sure 20 acres, and I'm sure that Rutland has got about the same. Because it isn't just the roof lines, it's the gravel driveways and that sort of thing that
but
they're
that-
pulling in.
Gravel driveway should be fine.
That's what I would think, but I don't know.
No, the state even includes cattle path as impervious, Bobby. So like even
That's
a
right.
grass path where the dirt's compacted and water can't get through is considered impervious. So gravel's definitely impervious.
Well, shit, it was A&R that wanted to build the cattle passes. I mean, they're causing our own grief. You know, I always thought it was better to let cattle punch little holes in the soil for to catch the water. And now they wanted to put these packed walkways in. And now they're back wanting to charge for them. Well, you know,
Well, so like I know the town where I live, they put a stormwater utility in, and I mean I was involved. I work for the town, but we actually took the farmers' cattle paths out because we agreed the state told them to do this, so we shouldn't be charging them that impervious fee based on that. But this is a big issue. This will cost the town of St. Albans $16 million over the next 20 years to do their stormwater work. So this isn't just fairs; it's everywhere.
Everybody. And Senator Perrin, actually, Representative Hango came in yesterday on a bill about the primary ag soils for the airport. And she introduced that in House Ag, but they questioned her about that too. And I'm sitting there screaming at the screen, you are going to be, it's you too. So it's crazy.
And then the piece I want to bring up too is at some point in the fairs, and I know I've talked to the folks of Highgate, but we're going to have to, as a state, have a conversation about finding a new piece of land for the Franklin County Fair at some point in the next decade. Because that piece of land, they've been put on notice a number of years from AOT that AOT wants that land. And then there's a potential industrial development park going in there. So between my role in the institutions committee and this one, we've got to find some land in Highgate that we can help move it. We'd like to keep it in Highgate. We've been talking to local leaders, but we've got to probably start that conversation sooner than later.
How many acres, Corey?
I don't know how much the current area takes up, but it'll be a pretty sizable industrial park off that airport. So, because that land right now that they use is state airport land,
Yeah.
and the state is eyeing some pretty extensive expansions there, which is great for the local economy, but we still want to make sure we have our Franklin County field days, and just got to find the right spot and try to make it all work out.
Always something.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I would add is that it will be Tunbridge Fair's 150th anniversary this year. And so when we send out the passes, please make sure you visit all your own fairs, but make sure you head down to Tunbridge because that's pretty special. Rutland just had their 150th, was it, Senator Calmer, last year, and they did a really good job on parades and special events and that sort of thing. The only other thing that we've been, so two other things that I'll just leave you with. Rutland Fair also got caught in an issue about crowd management during one of their events in the grandstand. And even though if you don't have a grandstand such as Franklin, it does apply to if there's an emergency, how do you get people in and out of your facilities? And for those of you who had the luck of when I was the last, I think it was the last year I was the farm show manager and we had the fire up there in Champlain Valley, thinking back to that, I'm sure Champlain Valley had a crowd management program, but the farm show did not, and we never thought to ask what it should be. So we are going to be working with all the fairs to have them come up with crowd management through the fire marshal's office and make sure that we have that taken care of. And just the last thing is the supply chain issues. We talk about it for food, but it's interesting that it's coming out for fairs too. There are just no tents to be had this year anywhere, and it isn't a Vermont problem. It's nationwide. Diane Norris over in Addison told me that they've had a problem getting tents from the people that they normally get them from. Porta potties are in short supply. I mean, it's just and we had security. We had issues finding security last year in several fairs, partly because there are so few local policemen on county forces anymore. So they're all facing challenges again, and they're all pushing through. We had a really good meeting last Wednesday, and we'll be continuing to Zoom just because it's easier right now. And the steakhouse in Berlin is closed forever, and that's where we used to meet. So we will be coming in on.
Did you say the steakhouse is closed?
Yeah, sold everything right to the walls, and it's done. It's very sad.
Yeah, I'll be darned.
Yep, there was a lot of groups that used to meet there. So good news for the fairs coming in. As I said, they'll see you on the 16th. We're sorry we won't be doing coffee and donuts, but I just didn't think that was going to work out, even though I do have it planned in the cafeteria. We'll be canceling that, sadly. But I will try to figure out some way to get that little maple syrup nip to all of you, because I know that, it's one of the little breakfast things that you can have or share. So we're going to try to figure out how to do that. But anyhow, that's all I have from the Farm Bureau and the fairs. If you have any questions, you can let me know, and see you in February.
Yeah, questions for Jackie on any of the subjects? I guess that part's all good, and keep us informed, Jackie, if you hear something that we should know. Feel free to call us, but it's good to have you folks out and about hearing things, and so if you think we should know about something, please get back to us so we can work on it.
And Senator Starr, I'd like to give you a personal invitation. Orleans County Farm Bureau is having their legislative breakfast in person on February 14th, so that you can come, because we always miss you because you're on vacation during town meeting.
Yeah, I'm town meeting. So February 14th.
Yes, at Irisburg Town Hall. So you'll get an invitation, but I wanted to make sure you knew ahead of time.
No, that's good. They ain't gonna be running into all 50 other things.
Right.
Yeah, well, Jackie, we did on the task force, we have hired a professor to get us a cost thing or an opinion in regards to the in-state milk order type situation that we talked about. So we're moving forward with that as well.
Good.
Yeah. Anything else, guys? If there isn't, it is almost noon, and we'll take a little break before our next committee meeting. So
thank you very much for your time, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Yeah.